Where can I sign up to be a police car mechanic? No, I mean, I
Look,
understand what you're
so
saying, but you're also talking to a woman. When I started in the urban peace movement, interventionists weren't paid at all. Like they were just hustling and doing it out of love. And I'm not saying that's how it should be, but the mayor took them from what 25,000 up to 60,000 as soon as she got into office. So that's a move in
yeah,
the right
that's
direction. She also gave police a huge raise, which I know most of us were not happy
yeah.
about that.
Yes, and not only a huge raise, but also right like new hiring incentives, right?
Yeah.
Like some of those hiring incentives include right like 18K or like it's like either 15 or 18K living stipend to help you cover the cost of living, right? Being in Los Angeles and being a police officer. And I'm just like, wow, it would be great if any one of our interventionists, if any of our other city workers, right, got a living stipend, to support them with, rent and all these other things. But again, those are resources that are almost exclusively used for police.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, right, I do think that there is room, right, for cross-sector collaboration. And when I talk about cross-sector collaboration, I mean collaboration between counties, between school districts, to be able to provide resources and be able to amplify some of the work that's already happening. To give you a quick example of this, in LA County, the Department of Youth Development is working to build these particular areas, right, called youth development networks to coordinate resources for young people, right? And they're also working to build something called YES teams, youth empowerment and support teams, right, to prevent young people from being arrested and prevent young people from coming into contact with, with the criminal legal system. Now, there should be some strategic coordination, right, between what the county is doing and what cities are doing, right, to ensure that these resources are, first of all, equitably distributed, and second, that we could use it to empower and support our communities and also hire people, right? Our cities can apply for some of those county funds and work with community organizations to make it happen, right? There are all these different initiatives actively trying to build stronger community-led schools, right? And there's funding from the state for that, right? So we can, again, be strategic with how we coordinate our public resources in order to make things happen, right? And stop operating in silos.
I mean, I was.
Now, again,
Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was happy
Now,
to hear when you were talking about how the projects are so hot and that is part of an analysis that the mayor is doing on whether or not these poverty programs are even working, and that she had already been over to those housing developments and noticed the same problem herself. I mean, to me, that means when you give a push and say, hey, this is a problem, and she already has observed that herself, it seems to increase the likelihood that we'll see some progress in some of these areas.
exactly,
Like
exactly.
air conditioning in the
And
projects. Hello, you know.
uh, I mean, just and especially in a place like California, like, come
I,
on, man, like that's it
I mean,
should
I
be
don't
it
have it
should
in
be
my
everywhere,
house,
but
but
it's not.
but when you talk about housing developments, you're talking about elders and kids who can't just go outside, right? Go to a cooling
Exactly.
center. Yeah. Share some of the other big big top line stuff that you learned and that you shared. I think just watching the audience, and it was well attended. It was standing room only, a great cross section of people. Really felt like the information was sinking in. I saw the mayor's team taking notes. I saw some visible reactions to some of the data you shared.
Yeah, I think another really big and sort of key data point, right? That we have consistently seen over the years is people really want the most investment in housing security and mental health, right? Those continue to be LA's top two priorities, for how we should be spending our public resources. And I think, to give the mayor credit, right, the Inside Safe initiative, is working to do some of that, right? Now, while we're also addressing our unhoused population, I think there's an entire population of folks that are housing insecure. I can't tell you how many times, people are hitting me up or other organizers up saying, hey, I have family that's getting ready to get evicted. Do you have any resources? Do you know what to do? And like getting rent relief and expanding the rent relief programs that's already in the one community investment department that's in the city, right? Like being able to dive deeper into those, right? Being able to dive deeper into some of the rent relief initiatives, some of the universal basic income initiatives, being able to support first-time home buyer programs, especially for Native Angelenos, right? Like doing some of those things to ensure that you have healthy and thriving communities, right, is how we prevent this chronic homelessness problem in the first place. Right.
Yeah. Time flies when you're on the radio, Doc. You got a minute. What do you want to land on?
I mean, just to reiterate, right, our city has to realign our priorities. If we can, we spend $42 million a year on workforce development, but somehow we have $58 million for catching dogs in animal control. Now that's not police, but still, right? Like,
I mean, I don't want stray dogs running around biting people, but at the same time, families are more important, right? So I think that's your point.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, right? Like if we can get to parity, right? Where we're
spending as much on families as on dogs, right? Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Hashtag goals. Dr. David Turner, thank you so much for checking in with us this morning. Great job last night. If you want to, learn more to go to peoplesbudgetla.com.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fran.
News, traffic, and sports, and then a challenger for Council District 8 next on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Illinois, a former employee of a West Suburban Elmhurst auto dealership is accusing his ex-employer of racial discrimination. Andre Jennings says that he was fired from his job as a salesman at Ed Napleton's Elmhurst Imports Kia in April of 2022. The suit alleges the plaintiff was routinely referred to by a racial slur by his supervisor at the dealership and that he was paid less than his white colleagues. Over 380,000 Toyota Tacoma trucks in the U.S. are being recalled due to an increased risk of crashing. Toyota announced the recall Tuesday, saying welding debris left on the rear axle assembly can cause retaining nuts to loosen and fall off. It could cause a part to separate from the axle, impacting the vehicle's stability and how it brakes. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers and Clippers jump it up tonight at Crypto.com. First game for both teams in 3 days. Both teams are also 1-2 since the All-Star break. Important game for the Lakers at 31-28. The Lakers are 2.5 games out of the playoffs with 23 games left in the regular season. They need to get on the road pretty quick. The Clippers won't have Paul George tonight. He's missing his second straight game with a sore left knee. The Clippers are the home team. 7 p.m. tip-off on ESPN. Top 5 men's college basketball teams in this week's AP poll: Houston, Purdue, UConn, Tennessee, and Marquette. Dodgers fans got a treat yesterday. Shohei Ohtani hit a 2-run homer in his first game with his new team. It's only spring training, but this is what Dodgers fans want to see from a guy with a 10-year, $700 million contract. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Do you support public education? More than 38,000 educators at United Teachers Los Angeles do too. Together, we have fought for a better public education for our students and communities, and having you on our side has been essential in our fight for better public schools. Together, we will continue to work for public schools with green spaces, more mental health staff, smaller class sizes at every grade level, and a higher investment in the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are UTLA, and you make us stronger.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey Californians, are you ready to make your home ownership dreams come true? The California Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program might be for you. First-generation homebuyers can get down payment and closing cost assistance along with a first mortgage to help you unlock the door of your new home. Applications open in April, so talk to an approved lender to see if you're eligible. Find out more at calhfa.ca.gov/dream or call 877-922-5432. A message from the California Housing Finance Agency.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
And we are your information station if you're trying to get it together for this election. KBLA1580.com. All of the conversations with candidates are there on our landing page, easily sorted out so you can figure out. You don't have to listen to all. You can listen to one race, one proposition. It's there for you, KBLA1580.com. As we continue that mission, we have a man in studio right now who is striving to be the council member for District 8, the seat currently occupied by council member Marquise Harris Dawson. He's a real estate broker, a native of LA, and he says he's established himself as a prominent figure in the real estate industry and an active member of his community, born and raised in LA. He says he experienced the challenges and opportunities of the city firsthand. Jahan Epps, welcome.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for coming in. So you're a real estate guy. You also are a supporter of Challengers Boys and Girls Club. You've been a coach.
Yes.
Why swap to politics?
Can I say real quick just on the thank you?
Absolutely.
Thank you for helping me check off a LA bucket list for me, because being interviewed by Dominique Duprima is a thing.
Yay!
I'm old enough to remember Street Science. I've listened to the Tupac album. For all the people a little younger than me, if you never heard To Live and Die in LA, I've heard so this is LA checklist for me. I'm happy to say I'm able to sit down with you today and have
awesome.
this experience.
Thank you for saying so.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Go back to your question. I'm sorry.
Why swap from the world of coaching and real estate to politics?
It was more so about being able to have an effect and change on my community and doing the things that I could do within my reach. And I feel like I've accomplished and done a lot of the things that I wanted to do at the level that I was on. And I wanted to be able to increase my reach and be able to help more people and do more things. And I just thought the best way to do that at this time was, make a run for politics.
Yeah, the city council district sounds like a small thing, but it's 250,000 people.
Absolutely.
It's bigger than a lot of cities. like running for mayor. Why start there? Why not, school board or, I don't know, neighborhood council or something?
Well, I see a lot of things going on in Los Angeles, especially in our district, a lot of improvement, a lot of changes. And it's a lot of, and I'm going to say us because, prior to me running and putting my name in a hat a year ago, I was a us, we wanted to feel like we had an advocate and wanted to be included in the changes and included and, have some equity in what's going on. And I feel like my constituents, myself included, we don't feel like we, there's a growing sentiment that we're losing our city and we're losing, stronghold. And, of course, I always say we want to welcome in the new without pushing out the old. So it's about, establishing that, making everybody feel like we have an advocate. I'm reachable, I'm accessible. And if there's something that's going wrong in this district, we could have a conversation about it and try to get to those solutions.
Some people feel like there's already too much influence of real estate on the LA City Council. I mean, certainly if you look at people like the fall of Jose Huizar, it's directly connected to real estate corruption developers. And there are people, myself included, who have said we shouldn't have developer money even being allowed to be in council races. How would your real estate background be a good thing for those who are concerned about gentrification and such, as opposed to a problem?
Because I understand the problem better, right? Because I've helped a lot of citizens and constituents buy homes, and I've helped to try to qualify a lot of them. And I know who doesn't qualify. I know why they don't qualify. I know the hangups they get caught up on. And I think more than anything else, we have an affordable financing problem, right? It's not as much the housing, it's do we have affordable financing for everybody? And we've had banks that have been caught in scandals lately, Navy Federal Credit Union for their lending practices, Wells Fargo. So there's only two ways to pay for anything, and that's with credit. You borrowing the money or you paying out of pocket. Since most of us don't have that type of money out of pocket, at some point we have to have equal opportunity and access to affordable financing.
But of course, a lot of South LA are renters too.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, let me talk. We can address the renting, right? And I think a lot of them would not be renters if they had access to affordable financing, because we know rent typically is higher than what a mortgage is. They say that if you're paying rent, you're most likely paying somebody's mortgage off, right? And most of us, I'm a landlord myself. I don't want to buy a building, and have to pay another $1,000 or $200 or $300 or $400 to have to supplement the rent because the rent is not making enough income. So what happens when you pay rent over time? What happens to rent over time?
Yeah, it goes up.
It goes up, right? What does a mortgage do over time?
Well, property taxes go up.
Property taxes go up, but the mortgage itself does what?
Right.
It goes down, right?
Yeah, it could if you're
because you're paying it off.
If you have a decent loan and you're diligent, yes.
Yes. So this one is never going to get you off the ride 10 years later. The other one 10 years later will get you off the ride. So it's that, education process, it's the access to affordable housing, it's access to all of those things. And circling it back to your question about real estate, me being in real estate and dealing with homeowners and having to break a single mother's heart or a family, small family who wants to get their foot in the door, have to break their heart to tell them they can't qualify or we can't find financing for them. I've experienced it enough to kind of know what the problems and the pitfalls are and then try to help put things in place to address and deal with.
What would you say are your policy priorities? What are the top 2 or 3 things you're proposing?
Top one is economic empowerment, and that goes along with all of those things I'm saying now. It's just the financing and things. As I drive down these different streets, Western, Crenshaw, Normandy, Manchester, Vermont, there's a lot of boarded up commercial buildings, right? That in other areas, if we were in Culver City, if we were in Venice, they would be booming with businesses, right? They would never sit for that long empty. So that is just signs of a stagnant economy, that we don't have those things filled up.
And or redlining, and or racism, and or weirdo landlords that, are waiting for us to get pushed out and gentrified out.
All of those things, right? But it still stagnates our economy, right? We don't have businesses and people to patronize and even the places to go to recycle our money,
So how do you fix it, though?
Well, one, you have to empower. You have to give financing and push for financing and grants and things of the sort to people who want to occupy those spaces. I've had to be in a space to where I've rented out one of those spaces or, for my businesses. And like you said, these spaces have been beyond repair for a long period of time, right? So there's a cost associated with that. Either the landlord has to go in and fix everything out of his pocket, and we know what construction costs could be, or the renter has to do that. And so if the landlord are stuck their boots in the ground or their heels in the ground that they're not going to fix, and most people cannot come in and afford to do $40,000-$50,000 worth of construction and renovations before they occupy brick and mortar. So we have a gap in between to where we have to, fix that, and we have to put some pressures on these long-term landlords to either, get these places up to code and nice looking so they're available for our people to be able to use or sell them.
Yeah. What about the corporate landlords?
They're the same. We don't want any slumlords around here. If they're not doing good, if they're not fixing up their buildings and they're, bringing our society down, then that's something that has to be addressed.
I mean, I know it wouldn't be in your district if
Absolutely.
elected, but the giant downtown graffiti towers, that's an example. The developer runs out of money. To me, they should be, museums that are low-income housing. They should be seized through eminent domain. But I
don't disagree with that. I think and that's where the real estate experience come on. Because you see how a lot of the questions you asking are real estate based. I do understand a eminent domain. I understand the laws in that scenario, and I understand some of the problems that it caused. So I think I would be a good person. Actually maybe a great person to sit in on some of these conversations and have a real conversation about how to fix these things and how to get some of these long buildings up and running again, and maybe in the hands of certain community members who will care more about them.
Do you consider yourself a Democrat, a Republican, a progressive, a liberal, a conservative?
That's kind of hard because I don't really like titles. I'm a type of person that just,
But you want the title of city council person.
Well, yeah.
You want that title.
That's true. When I say titles, it's maybe categories.
Okay.
I really listen to comments since I was raised. I'm going to say raised, but grew up Democrat, most of my whole life. Like, most of it's a heavy Democrat area, but I lean across the line at times. I ran bipartisan for that reason, just to let people know that more than anything, I'm listening to reason and common sense, right? And if something makes sense, I am not going to worry about party lines and titles and all of those other things. I'm just looking for solutions that's going to work for all of us.
Okay, we're talking with Jahan Epps. He wants your vote for Council District 8, Los Angeles City Council. Continuing the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
It's never been faster or easier to be a voter. Look for your vote by mail ballot in the mail. Fill it in and drop it off at a mailbox on your way to work, on your daily walk, or when dropping the kids off at school. Save time and vote early. Make a plan to vote at plan.lavote.gov. That's plan.lavote.gov. Brought to you by the Los Angeles County Registrar.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? My...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the exclusive media sponsor of this light of ours, activist photographers of the Civil Rights Movement. A dynamic new exhibition on view now at the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles. This light of ours showcases more than 150 photos taken by movement insiders from diverse backgrounds that reveal the vital work undertaken by a broad coalition of organizers and everyday people whose collective action changed America. This light of ours is one of 3 temporary exhibitions currently on view at the Skirball, which together explore issues related to civil rights, immigration, and pluralism. Tickets and more information for all 3 exhibitions are available at skirball.org. That's skirball.org. SKIRBALL.org.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Be heard. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with Jahan Epps. He is a candidate for Council District 8 and a real estate broker. And folks in the chat got questions, got thoughts. And Link wants to know, what do you know about city government? I guess he's looking on YouTube because he says you remind him of Music Soul Child. And he said you'd be replacing a legend in the city council. What do you know about city government?
Music Soul Child, that's funny. I want to say, by the way, I did wear this hat because it's a local brand. I like to give shout outs to local black-owned brands when I can. It's Thread House, so there's a purpose to that.
It's a Wealth Building Wednesday.
Absolutely, it's Wealth Building Wednesday. So shout out to them. Check them out online. You know what? City council, or you said city government in general?
City government in general.
City government. I am not the most experienced there, obviously, because I haven't got into city government yet. This is my first time getting in. I do keep myself abreast of matters, and I also have an understanding of what's going on and what we need. But, you know, the funny thing about politics, and I feel like this question is always going to come, if you're a new politician, you don't have the experience. If you're an older politician, you're not in touch with everybody. And if you're a tenured politician, you're corrupted. So no matter what spectrum I come in from, there's always, in my opinion, going to be some knock. But as far as just to address the question and answer it fully, I will admit that I am a little new to city politics, but doesn't mean that I can't be successful at it.
Jamal wants to know who from what party has made common sense to you. You said you don't like labels, and you go by common sense. So he wants to know who's making sense in politics.
I mean, just like I said, all my life I've leaned more towards Democrat, and I've always kind of voted Democrat. So if I have to take a label, that's the one I would take for sure. But like I said, I'm open to good ideas all the way around, and so that's why I kind of like to try to.
Sherry Bell wants to know if you're pro-low income or pro-public housing.
Pro-low income or pro-public housing?
I mean, that's not an either or. Mm-hmm. Are you pro-low income? I guess, like, how would you be an advocate for low-income folks? And do you think public housing is a good idea? 2 questions.
Public housing is a little difficult. I don't think it's worked as well over the years. I find it better to empower people individually to get their kind of, I guess you could say, piece of the pie. And that's why my focus is more so on, bringing those people up. That's why I'm running on, first and foremost, economic empowerment, because I would like to think, instead of setting the bar low, I would like to bring people up to, a bar that they can all enjoy a good standard of living.
And what about advocating for low-income folks? I mean, you say you empower people, but what kinds of programs or policies do you see?
We'd have to definitely advocate for low-income folks. I've dealt with certain programs. They give a lot of grants for housing and things of the sort at this point in time. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, to be specific, I've worked with, and they have a lot of programs now that are government funded, where they will pay for your down payment, they'll pay for your closing costs, and like I said, most of these, even low income housing, the rent is so high out here that they are paying equivalent to a mortgage. So a lot of times they just need not a handout, but a help, or advocacy and things of the sort. So I think part of empowering is bringing up the people who are not at the bar we want to be. That is the definition of empowering to me. People that are already where they need to be, we don't necessarily need to empower them. We need to empower the ones that are not there. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Where are you on the anti-camping ordinance that's been enacted in the city of Los Angeles? And now this is going all the way to the Supreme Court, so we may not have a choice soon. But how do you handle the unhoused and where they can or cannot sleep?
It's a safety issue. And that's where I'm keeping it at. I won't prioritize politics over safety, right? And so I don't think it's safe for the campers or for the community to have them out there. So it's something that needs to be disrupted.
So does that mean you support the anti-camping ordinance for the city of LA?
Well, from what I understand of it, it's just, and you can, if I have a bad understanding of it or a wrong understanding of it, you can explain. But it's just basically saying they're not going to allow, or they will detain or break up people that are camping on the street?
Yeah, what it says is that council members can designate areas of their district as no camping zones, and then people can be removed from those places.
Yeah, I support that. We can't have just people setting up wherever they want to go. That's chaos.
But doesn't it criminalize the unhoused?
I don't think it criminalizes them. It's already a crime to be in certain areas, right? You know, we have this thing about criminalizing things that are already a crime. Like, you know, prostitution is already a crime. We choose not to break those things up.
But many times it's human trafficking. It might, you know what I mean? So we criminalize sometimes children who are out there prostituting and not the people that are profiting off it or utilizing their services.
Well, we want to break it up, right? Mm-hmm. And so ignoring it and driving by it is not the solution, right? Because all it does is perpetrate it, right? If we break up the marketplace that it happens at and there is no marketplace for flesh, then you just don't have, you know, you have to go other ways, but we can't let it play out in the middle of our cities.
Right. So what is your plan for helping the unhoused? If you're saying that you're going to support the anti-camping ordinance, what's your plan for helping the unhoused? Certainly, we see a huge number of black people. I think it's 30%, even though we're like 7% of the city. 30% of unhoused are black folks. How do you help those folks?
Well, I think we do need facilities specific to mental health and substance abuse. And I think Proposition 1 is trying to address some of those things now. But I've been an advocate for those things because just talking to some of the local police officers, you know, I've been able to get kind of what their rules are and how they have to address the homeless population. And for one, a lot of these shelters have rules. One, curfew, no substance abuse, no sexual activity, things of the sort. A lot of times the people that are on the street are the people that don't want to go along with the rules. And so we don't necessarily want to mix that. And then I don't necessarily want somebody who's drug addicted or has a mentally ill or struggling with mental health issues. I don't necessarily want them in a homeless shelter for like a single mother with 2 or 3 kids. So they need spaces specific to them so we can help them with their problems.
So the anti-camping ordinance, it's 4118. It bans sitting, lying, sleeping, or keeping personal property within 500 feet of sensitive facilities, schools, parks, libraries. But then council members can say, okay, this is an anti-camping area. I understand what you're saying about things already being illegal, but they're only illegal if we say they're illegal.
Right.
If we put those, we could repeal 4118 and make it and have a different plan.
Absolutely. And that's where the legislating comes in, and that's where looking at the problems, having an innovative approach to them, and being able to alter these things. And that's also listening to our constituents and the population. They're going to be screaming about what their problems are because they have to live with them every day. And if we keep accessible to them and we keep that open line of communication, then we can work on these solutions together.
So you said your top priority is economic empowerment. What would you put at number 2?
Number 2 right now would probably be kind of neck and neck is infrastructure and public safety, because I think they kind of go hand in hand. We have a lot of street lights out that are safety issues, potholes, and public safety, and they are they're, how can I say, exacerbated by the fact that we have public safety issues, the lights that are not on, et cetera, are making the public safety issue a bigger problem, is what I'm trying to say.
Would you have voted for the mayor's budget? She gave big increases in pay to police officers and budgeted for an expansion of the LAPD. Would you have voted for that if you were sitting in council?
No, I wouldn't have. A huge part of our constituents have been screaming to defund the police. And when I say defund the police, I'm meaning that allocate funds in other places, right? So they have a good budget. They're already almost 50% of the budget. It's not that I would have allocated that money in a different place. Even if we didn't defund the police, we did the opposite of that. We gave them even more money. So that's what I mean when I say as far as our elected officials not necessarily, really listening and hearing to what we're asking for.
Give me your 1-minute pitch why we should vote Jahan Epps, Council District 8.
That's a good question. I'm from here. I'm from the community. I'm very in touch with the community. We're always asking for the youth, the young to get into politics, and this is what we're doing. We're taking a stand. We're taking our time to try to make a difference in our community, and we would love to see that supported. And I would specifically love to see you guys support that in me. So that's my little
Okay, tell us like how to follow your campaign, how if people want to volunteer or whatever, like that.
My campaign, you can follow me at www.jepps2024. You can follow me on my Instagram at j.epps2024. And lastly, before I go, I just want to mention a program that we have going on called the District 8 Rewards that we're launching pretty much in the next couple of days, and it's a program to help with economic empowerment. And we've got a lot of businesses in the area in order to help recycle money amongst our community and keep money locally. We have a lot of businesses that agreed to incentivize local shoppers for shopping there. For example, Never Too Much Wireless down the street has agreed to give $5 off every phone repair. Sloss and Taco Pete has agreed to give off 8% every time you visit. Lash Trap, Black Beverly Hills clothing brand. Rich Boy Sports is going to do free training sessions for the first 30 minutes. So the list goes on and on, but we want to encourage people to keep their money here, because right now we have to take our money out of the area for fine dining, roller skating, bars, lounges. We don't have all of that. So those are the things we want to, even food.
Yeah.
So those are all the things that we want to bring back into our local area, and we want it as much as possible to be community owned. You know, we want to recycle our money amongst each other, and I think that will begin to solve a lot of our problems economically, including being able to afford housing.
Jahan Epps, thank you so much for coming in.
Me.
It is jepps2024.com, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate the conversation.
Thank you so much.
And it's time for Tavis Smiley. He is up next. I like to leave you with a quote. I'm going to Jesse Jackson. He says, if you fall behind, run faster, never give up, never surrender, and rise up against the odds. Katie Porter will be joining us tomorrow. She's trying to get your vote for U.S. Senate. Tavis has got a great show on tap. I'll see you on social media, KBLA 1580 on all platforms, or DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. History is now, and we are making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest of 2022. The suit alleges the plaintiff was routinely referred to by a racial slur by his supervisor at the dealership and